I know you love your rugby, Chewy, so you've probably seen this. I want to show you, like many have seen, the beginning of Te Haka from the All Blacks game against Italy in the weekend. The beginning of it sounded a little bit different.
Now it's time to dim the lights.
No, it's time to dim the lights.
The ultimate spectacles.
Ultimate spectacle.
The ultimate rituals in world
ultimate
rugby.
rituals.
The New Zealand haka is balm for the soul. And we're about to drink it in the north of Italy.
With our whiskey. See if you can pick up, if you don't speak Māori, just see if you can pick up some of the words that TJ says. And I love the haka, but we don't need to show anymore, and this will probably get us kicked off YouTube anyway or something. But Chewy, you're not a rugby fan, you're not a Māori speaker, neither am I. Just some of the words you heard in there to the start of that haka?
I am an admirer of the haka, though. Yeah, I heard Toitu Te Tiriti o Waitangi.
Mana Motuhaki, Waitangi, and it gets written up by the world like this. Let me just put this headline up for you. Rugby. Amid a haka call, a reference to an 1840 treaty, and a call to unify New Zealand.
But hang on, Pat. I thought all of this treaty nonsense was divisive.
So this is how some of the world saw it. And I'll just read to you, for those of us who are not Māori speakers, what he was saying at the start. TJ clarified on the first line of the haka and termed it as everyone's sovereignty. Stand and pay respect to our whenua, country, which is our whenua mana motuhaki, which is our sovereignty, everyone's sovereignty. Te tiriti o Waitangi, stand tall, stand proud, and stand on te tiriti o Waitangi. So that's the translation of what he said. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I didn't see it. I only saw it today for the first time, and it's a wake up call. It's like, you know, for me, I find that emotional. I always found the in particular the All Blacks haka like more kind of my nationality and pride coming up more than the national anthem. So to have that on top of it is pretty amazing. But Chewy, you might be surprised that some people didn't quite seem to think it was
no, go on.
as acceptable. What I want to do is I want to show you.
In fact, he's wearing a Trump hat.
God, yeah, I know.
Damn.
Look, and I promise, guys, these clips I'm about to play are 30 seconds each. So I know you guys don't want to hear from the bubbling pancake batter.
That's fucking guy.
But this is important to keep in front of us as to what happens and how the world is run. Because what we're finding at the moment is that the left is being blamed by the right for things that the left are not doing and are not saying. The left has either pigeonholed itself into an expectation of society, or the right has put it on them that things like, for example, one of the reasons Kamala Harris didn't get elected is people thought she was too woke. You know, there was that ad that was very successful, Kamala's for they, them, Trump's for you. That was a very successful advertisement.
Really?
Yeah, it was very successful. But the thing is, Kamala Harris didn't pick up on any of that stuff through her whole campaign, but she was labeled that by the right. So what's happening at the moment is the right is defining who the left are, and it's working. It's working in the media. So this guy here is a free speech absolutist, and he is definitely not into cancel culture. Let's hear the first 30 seconds, which is the response to TJ.
Blacks. He, in an act of solidarity with his Maori brothers and sisters, he's doing the mahi and the motu. He's going to Japan, a foreign country, to play a game invented by an Englishman, the terrible country that colonised his people.
Yeah. Fuck.
I'm going to keep playing, Chewy, because you're going to say that 10 times in a 30-second clip. It's all just race baiting, revolting bile. I know, but we need to know, right, what we're looking at to be prepared to combat it.
So TJ makes a little political statement, and afterwards a whole lot of pictures.
You know, that thing of unity that the World Media talked about? Little political statement.
Just going around of the Maori sovereignty flag, that squiggly flag with the All Blacks holding it on the field, I think after the game.
So there was that, yeah, I'll show you. That is that picture right there after the game. That's what he's talking about. And that apparently is a bad thing as well. I'm sure if they were holding a silver fern, which is also not New Zealand's flag, that would be seen as acceptable. But that one, yep, there's problems with that one. The next part we're going to play is, this is what the right does. And this is why I've put in the description how TJ has exposed them again. The right who scream for free speech, the right who scream for no cancel culture, have strings attached to it that basically say, when I approve of it, and in a way I approve. So, of course, TJ's got the right to have his opinion, but just shut up when you're on a rugby field. This is the next part.
Say very, very clearly that TJ Perenara and any sportsman and anyone in this country has a right to a political opinion.
I just have to authorize it. It has to be... you're laughing, Chewy, but that's what it is. Yeah, they've got a right to it.
He was never asked.
It's almost... I can't say the words because they're incredibly racially insensitive. But, you know, there's words that mean like you're a good one of them. Of that group that I don't like, you're a good one. Be a good one. It's that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, just shut up and pass the ball.
Yeah, well, that was a Fox News analyst about LeBron.
And has a right to express that political opinion.
He has a right to express it.
When and where you express that opinion, I think can be nuanced. But firstly, I'm just saying TJ can think what he wants and believe what he wants. That's the gorgeous legacy of being called.
You are going to blow up at this comment, Chewy. Just everybody take a step back from your screen, because when Chewy hears this bit, he is literally going to explode, and you do not want to get some Chewy on you. So just take a step back.
But firstly, I'm just saying TJ can think what he wants and believe what he wants. That's the gorgeous legacy of being colonised, is that you actually have a free society based on certain Western principles of liberty and freedom.
What?
It's far more reserved. You're a bit scarier when you're reserved, actually, to be honest with you.
No, that's when you have to worry when I'm quiet.
Okay.
Like
one more.
This is absolutely pure white supremacist shit.
Yep.
This is stuff that you wouldn't trot out 20 years ago. Like Western white civilization is the only civilization.
Yeah. You natives should be happy.
Nobody had free speech or any form of democracy until the Greeks conjured it out of the rocks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so offensive.
Okay, I'm going to offend you some more. One more clip. And then Plunkett deems to tell PJ Perenara, that what he did wasn't good. Like, it wasn't good for his cause, because he says in this clip as well, I watched the whole thing so you don't have to. He said in this clip as well, you know, basically the response from it invalidates the action. And I'm like, good. Let's talk about gun control in America. The response from it publicly invalidates it. Let's talk about that wee hikoi the other day. The response from it invalidates David Seymour's bill. Have a listen to the sus bit.
I don't think it's good for rugby. And more importantly, TJ, I don't think it's good for whatever your misguided cause is. I think you've probably engendered more anti-Māori feeling.
He's engendered more anti-Māori feeling. No, but that's because that's his bubble. Like, we're all in bubbles. I'm in part in a left-wing bubble, and then most of you guys watching and listening are part of a left-wing, but it happens. But his one, they're going mad. My one are reading articles that say things like this unity, this speech of unity. But his bubble says everyone was upset. And that's where he comes from. This has got 30 seconds.
more anti the treaty movement marketing exercise by the Māori Party feeling than any positive impact. And I think people are quite rightly saying doing that in the way you did it does your cause, which I can't imagine you advancing very much as you pull in the big bucks, working for corporates, playing rugby for corporate overlords in Japan. I don't think you've done your cause any good.
So I was just going to say corporate overlords like Wright Family Foundation. Does that come to mind? Anyone? Just me?
I'm not saying you can't have your opinions. And your rugby mostly was pretty good, mate. Mostly was pretty good. I suspect it would have been better if you hadn't been so yappy.
There you go. You know, because here's another racially insensitive thing that I can't say these days, but, you know, a bit lippy. Certain group of people being a bit, oh, look at Chewy. Shirt's coming off. Holy mackerel.
He was so close
to
calling him an uppity N-word.
Yeah. So listen, so this is what I'm trying to tell you guys about. The right will actually label the left and it's successful. And then who talks about it? The right, talking about the issues to do with wokeism in America. The left didn't talk about it. Fox News talked about it. Elon Musk talked about it. All the people on the right talked about what the left were and what they did. And you can see this at the platform, right? We'll go to their page. Where 3 or 4 times in 2 days. There you go. There's TJ there. There's once. There's TJ there. There's twice. There's TJ there. There's 3 times.
Well, Michael Laws's comments were enlightened.
But what I'm saying is that media is now defining that. And look, the treaty is not a left issue, but you know what I'm saying? That the right is defining who the left are. And in some ways, the left are letting them. It's like I just talked about the left in the media, and Labour, the Greens, Te Pāti Māori should be all over outlets like the platform that are on the other side to get their messages out. But they're not, because these guys do it better. I want to remind you of some other things. And this is when TJ reveals their beautiful hypocrisy. This man, this melting mound of pancake batter, this free speech purist, remember, and these people on the left that don't want cancel culture, all of a sudden, when it doesn't work with them, they want it. Here's 30 seconds.
And gosh, this probably goes against my basic philosophy. I think this is a point where regulation and authorities do need to step in and say, no, you cannot do this. We cannot live in a country where you suggest boycotting or damaging people commercially because of their faith.
So that was a guy who made an app that he was pointing out who was supporting Israel. And Plunkett's response was, well, you know, it's capitalist state, free market. If he wants to do that, all good. His response was, the government should regulate against this person saying these things. So it's all a shell game. That word that we've been using for such a very long time. It's all a shell game. They're not free speech purists. They're not cancel cultural purists. They're my narrative first. I've got more to show you, Chewy, but there you go. I've just laid out this first part about what TJ did and then how the right responded to it in New Zealand. Thoughts, sir?
I think you're exactly right that we need to look at this to see what the other side is consuming. And I think you're right to draw that parallel. I think Simon mentioned it in the chat. So this is straight out of the Colin Kaepernick blowout, right? He was lashed by the media for months and months and months and months and months. And it didn't matter what information was released about who he talked to, what the reasons for doing it was. He was disrespectful. He was a traitor. It was treasonous. All of this sort of stuff. Sean there is literally an inch away from saying it here. The other comment that I saw that was really good, and I didn't star it, so I didn't get the name, and I'm gonna mangle the quote here. That why does Sean's studio look like a gym in Pakuranga? Like it looks weird. Like Sean is talking to an echo chamber, and the people that are in there are happy to be in that echo chamber.
Yeah.
But I think we need to acknowledge that he does have an audience.
Yeah.
And like our audience and like us, they are activated for the things that they consider important. And they will just reaffirm their own beliefs with people that agree with them. It just reinforces them that everybody thinks the same. And I don't know if Sean is smart enough to realize that that's what he's doing. If he's doing it, I'm not sure if he realizes that he's part of it. Right? I don't know if he goes outside of his bubble to see how right he is, or whether he's quite happy with his activated group of clown shoes cookers that he's gathered. But this is something that we need to be aware of for a bunch of things. Don't get too comfortable in your echo chamber, and understand what the people that are in the other echo chamber are getting fed, so we can combat it. And that's why we look at these clips, right? That's the whole. It's not to give me a shorter lifespan, although I'm sure that's going to be a side effect every time we see Sean wearing a fucking MAGA hat.
Yeah, I know.
Come on. It's not even a proper one. I don't know why that offends me as well, that he hasn't got a red one, that he's got some knockoff thing. Look, the standards we expect from Sean are very, very low. Like, above the dirt, but below the dog shit is kind of where Sean exists. And the plot form is a terrible, terrible outlet. But some people out there are treating it as news.
Yep.
So
I'm going to finish up this story just to demonstrate how this is not a New Zealand only thing. So Piers Morgan, I know you guys were waiting for him. Piers Morgan wrote a piece. Remember, Piers Morgan, free speech purist, anti-cancel culture. He wrote a piece in the New York Post over the weekend. The View is a pointless, irrelevant, Trump-loathing joke. Cancel it. So he wants to see them. He wants to see it gone. He wants it cancelled. Just like, remember, Tuivasi, I can't think of her name, sorry, the poet. Plunkett wanted her cancelled. These cancel culture opponents. Now, I'm really sorry because I forgot to cue it up, so I'm hoping I got it in the right place. In this conversation with Piers Morgan, Brian Tyler Cohen on the end here brings this up, and he kind of points out all the hypocrisy of these right-wingers who have a narrative that they cry from the rooftops, free speech when it fits their narrative, but when they write articles literally saying cancel, do they not see how that's hypocritical?
Because the screaming doesn't work.
Piers, do you not see any irony in, after years and years and years of conservatives and right-wingers and you coming forward and saying that cancel culture is bad, we hate cancel culture, this is the reason that the left is losing, and now you're calling for the View to be canceled?
I'm ahead of you. My final line says, given the enthusiasm with which the View hosts, all of them,
So the rules are, if the person on the left has a particular view, then we can cancel them. If the person on the left has an unpopular view with me and my team, then it's okay to cancel them. Piers Morgan thinks this is his out. Because they want to cancel Trump, it's okay to cancel them, but I'm anti-cancel culture.
It's so hard to cancel Donald Trump. They should maybe take their own lesson and be cancelled. Because it's what they would want. Because they're now the ones, they said Trump was out of step with the American people. They said he was just a...
So let's say they were wrong. So that means when someone's wrong, you can cancel them. What are the rules here, Piers?
Little representative of a small number of MAGA people. No, actually, that's not the case. He's had a thumping win across the board. Therefore, the View hosts are out of step with the American people. Therefore, they should be cancelled.
Now, the View hosts are out of step with the American people. Brings you straight back to Plunkett's thoughts that the people didn't like this Haka. So what they're doing is they're calling on the mob to be the arbitrator of what can or can't get cancelled. And that, Chewy, is a system of oppression against the minority in every aspect. If the majority want it or the majority approve of it, then it's okay to, I'll use an overtly aggressive term, but put the knee on the neck of that group because lots of people are against it. This has only got 10 seconds.
No, I don't mean get rid of the show. I mean, get rid of them and replace them with a more balanced team. Maybe you have a few men as well. Me and Geraldo could pop in there.
So we're not going to cancel the show, The View. We just want all those women fired. And we want to bring back other people who are then Piers. Think about Plunkett, because I haven't authorized it. Piers is now saying I say you're allowed to continue. This is this authoritarian right, mate. You're allowed to continue, but with different people. So Piers, what about if we hated you and cancelled you and we put a different host in the show called Piers Morgan Uncensored? It's ridiculous. We can cancel the person, but not the show. So that's kind of all I've got on this topic for you guys. And Shuey, I'm more than happy to throw you the ball and let you go for it. But I wanted us to see, first of all, that Haka was amazing. And then to see how those of us on the left need to be careful, because the right is defining us. And it's working. It's what happened in the American election. It worked. It worked here. You know, and if you're not someone who's online, me and Chewy are, Chewy not so much anymore with Twitter, but the amount of times people then classify us with various words and names and, you know, that are the most horrific words, because that's what they're hearing others on the right, others with platforms, pardon the pun, to talk about and to say. And when I say it's working, I'm obviously not saying it's correct. I'm saying these truth and lies will go around the world before truth. Sorry, these lies will go around the world before truth gets its pants on. And it's working. The right play dirty and win. The left want to play a beautiful game. And as long as it looks good, if we lose, we played a good game. I'm not saying that Biden should obviously crash the Capitol building. Couldn't get a Zimmer frame up if he could. But on some level, I kind of think, Biden's like, you're a fascist. Hey, come into the White House. We'll do all things nicely. And I like Willie Jackson the other week that went, I'm not going to play nice anymore. And I'm not saying be illegal, break laws, kill people. But the left, when I equate it to sports, I do this all the time. The left want to throw the perfect spiral pass. They want to look great running down the sideline. And if they lose, but they've played as well as they can, better luck next time, guys. The right fucking eye gouge you, pull your boots off and throw them away so you can't run. As long as they get the W on the board, that's all that matters. And you're fucking seeing it right now with Seymour dog walking someone who has to be Prime Minister no matter what. He did it no matter what. He would play as ugly as he needed to, and that means fucking David Seymour as Deputy Prime Minister as long as he got the win. So people, what would you rather have? Your guys playing a bit uglier and winning, or throwing that perfect spiral pass with a beautiful kick down the touchline and losing? I know what I'd prefer to be.
Too many sports analogies. You've lost me. Look, there's a couple of things that just a small parallel that I've seen. Piers Morgan is a raging misogynist,
Yeah.
and so is Plunkett. Like, there's something that they have in common. I agree with what you're saying. Like, when we talk about left parties that nominally started as socialist movements,
yep,
this is back in the time where the factory would unite and storm up to the factory manager's office and hang him from the rafters until they got their pay and conditions right. You know, to say that the workers' movements have mellowed with age is understating it somewhat. And look, we've been quite clear that what we want to see out of the Labour Party, especially, is more mongrel.
Yeah,
we want them to be constantly on the attack, but from what we still want the high ground. It doesn't necessarily have to be the moral high ground. It has to be the tactical high ground. If you're going to go on the attack, you have to make sure that you have done the housework first. Like, who was it that made the comparisons of the police numbers and like sort of fudged that a little bit? We were quite critical of it.
The police did. I'm not sure who else. Are you talking about for the actual hikoi?
No. I'm talking about there was a Labour MP that was criticising police arrest numbers, but was using two completely different.
Maybe Ginny Anderson, maybe
that's it.
Okay,
yep.
Good.
Yeah, Ginny. So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Great mongrel move, go on the attack. But it wasn't from the high ground, because she did it from a position that was easily criticised by everybody, including us. There's lots of things like Mark Mitchell said that he'd resign if he didn't get the crime stats down, and he hasn't. Where is the outcry for that? That sort of thing. So, yeah, look, we're always going to be mongrels about this, right? But even now, even right from the start, we've gone, yes, we're unashamedly on the left, but we'll criticise our team if we have to.
Yeah.
We're falling for that trap as well. And it's from a position of ethics and integrity, something that Sean, I think, has ripped out of a dictionary, let alone never read. I'm just baffled that this keeps happening. Like, people will go on the platform because of his audience.
Yeah.
People will still, including Jack Tame this very weekend, will still quote Curia poll results, despite them being pointed out of having big ethical issues with their polling, and being an Atlas offshoot. It's just, man, media, you're supposed to be better than this. Like, why do we hear from the Taxpayers Union all the time?
Yeah.
They're a lobby group. Don't give them they're a lobby group. Just don't go there. And certainly don't give them the stats that they have provided.
Yeah.
It's mad.
I like what you say, but I want to add to it. Talking about getting a bit more mongrel. I'm going to go back to the sports ball, because you can have two kinds of mongrel. There's a guy called Richard Lowe who played rugby in the 1980s, probably into the 90s. He was known for eye gouging. They used to talk about, like back in the day in the 60s and stuff, they'd talk about the reason that there was a halftime in rugby was so you could turn the props around. That was kind of the joke. That gave you the chance to turn the guys around who basically, they finished the game and rather than having water, they had 10 beers and that kind of stuff. So there's that kind of mongrel, right?
A sport cigarette.
And but then there's other kinds of mongrels. This is Brodie Retallick. He's recently retired. Look at that guy. He's like fucking Lurch, right? He's just an absolute mongrel. So he
I
is
take
100...
it just from that quick clip. I assume that they've pieced him together out of different parts of dead rugby players.
So he is a mongrel. He was one of the hardest men in rugby, but he had an amazing skill set. That's the mongrel I want. I want the mongrel who not only has to get turned around at half time, but can run good lines. You're going to lose me completely here, Chewy, and play the game and know the rules and have the top 6 inches be in effect. I want Brodie Retallicks in my political parties. He's not just to turn the guy around at half time because he's that kind of mongrel. He's a professional sports athlete, and he knows the game. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mongrel with the top 3 inches. That's what, Brad. Paul, I was trying to think who was the name of the lock at the Rugby World Cup. Brad Thorne was the guy I was thinking of. Played rugby league, then came back and played rugby, and was still, I think his last test match he was like 39, and he was shorter than all the other ones, and he was an absolute, born in Mosgiel, absolute munter, but top 3 inches.
So there's a couple of comments that I want to highlight here. First one for Gary. Our problem is always overestimating the interest in and the knowledge of politics by the general voting population. 100%. We are tragics. We are fucking dialed in. We know all of this shit, and only some of it filters through to the general public, and often far later than when we've talked about it and noticed it and that sort of thing. It's a difficult thing to sort of pass, and you get that whole thing when someone comes to you and asks you what up, and you go like, oh my God, how do you not know this? Anyway, I'm going to rant at you for the next 15 minutes and give you about 10 years of backstory. It's a difficult thing. And a super chat here from Tina. Mongrel on the left was the Haka in Parliament. 100%.
Yep.
Like, you can't be a mongrel and stay within the lines.
Yep.
Like, whenever protest movement has happened and has changed something in the world, it's been done by people that are tired of playing nice and playing by people's rules.
Yep. That's really, really good. Can I say something that's going to sound really arrogant? More people need to see the clip, the last 20 minutes of the show. Like, more people need to see this. This needs to be somewhat of a movement. We need to get people on board with this. Like, honestly, this if you're part of the left, the right are already doing this. They know how to do it. Left, there's some lessons you need to learn. And without sounding like completely, stuck up our own asses, we need this conversation to go further. We need Labor to know that they need to own the centre, right? Centre left, and take as many people from the centre right. We need the Greens to know they have to activate that apathetic far left group and the younger people. We need Māori to know. I don't think we actually need to tell Te Pāti Māori this. I think they're the ones that are onto it, but they need to get as many Māori voting for them as possible. They need to hear these things.
They seem to be tapping into people that had given up on being listened to in the political space, and they have given them something to rally behind.
And credit where credit's due. You hear they go on Wātea, they do the independent media better than anybody. And they probably would love to see it better, but it certainly goes Labour's the worst, then Greens, then Te Pāti Māori. Pāti Māori is pretty good at this. Pretty good.